Hey guys, what's up? This is Teddy Macedo, aka bearRimshot speaking. Um, Today I'm gonna be sharing with you guys on what are my thoughts on 2021. And to be completely honest here, 2021 for me personally, I will say, was a really solid year for me. In fact, I'm sure we can all agree it's a much better year than, say, 2020 for crying out and so much about it. But what makes 2021 a year for me to look at fondly? Well, first off, let's start things off with a bang with something I'm sure not only am I happy to say, but also I'm sure all of you will be happy to hear me say this. Well, let's just start off with a bang by what makes 2021 a good year, beginning with discussing about Azuchi Guardian. Now, you're obviously going to be thinking to yourself, what the fridge is there to say about him? Well, to be completely honest here, let's just say, in terms of how Azuchi Guardian can be with me in 2021, let's just say it's, for what I have to say about Azuchi Guardian in 2021, let's just say it's a year unlike, say, the past 4 to 5 the past years ever, unlike any year beforehand, ever since we both had our falling out back in 2015. Now, when being honest about past years, starting from 2016 to 2020, this is the part where it can be common, where I will admit, as you can tell, I would be so harsh on him. Especially when looking back at 2016 as it is, when I want to be, as a worst offender in this. 2021, I will say, is where it's going to be times like this where, I just knew I had to play things nice. Like how so, you may ask? Well, as you can all obviously tell where he is during 2001, thank God he hasn't been bugging me at all, unlike he did past years, or since when we both had our falling out, And you can tell when Easter last year kicked in, has passed. This is where, next thing you know, it's where, I survived myself breaking the record. I survived. I finally had my dream coming true, seeing myself survive through a whole entire year, over a year, not engaging myself with them, which is great because, as you all may have heard me loudly and clearly, I've been constantly advocating to be left alone from him as much as I can. Boy, did I get what I want from him finally. I guess you can all obviously tell when I did the last episode of Casual bearRimshot when passing at the person. Because I guess I'd all taught him a lesson, as you can obviously tell, there are do's and don'ts how to handle engaging yourself with me, And as you can all obviously tell, and as Guardian can be with me in the past, he did things I'm sure we can all agree, he should not have done. However, Azuchi Guardian would be the only major troll I've had in my life who didn't bother bugging me at all in 2021, but he did so before that year kicked in. But also, another major troll who can be so with Caleb Korger, like what the fridge is there to say about him. He, like Azuchi Guardian, didn't bug me at all in 2021, despite having a long history and trolling me in the past, back when Trump was unfortunately our president of the United States, and yeah. Speaking of which, enough talking about, enough expressing happiness about how I can be engaging with longtime trolls of mine. That's also another thing about 2021 I'm happy to see become reality. Luckily for us Americans, thank freaking God, Trump is no longer our president, but instead we got Biden, I'm sure we the people can all agree that Biden handled America much better than Trump, and yeah. And moving on from politics, well, some other things that make 2021 a really good year for me to fondly look at would be regarding, well, Now, if you all may recall back in 2020 when it was still summertime, when it was back when during the summertime when more and more businesses were about to reopen after COVID hit, you'll notice of how that, well, as you can all see, as you can all obviously see that, that considering certain events that occurred over here in New York, I knew I had to be one of those people like them who had to speak up about the reopening of movie theaters in general, including my favorite, the Alamo Drafthouse. And when going back in time in 2020, I will say, well, I find it understandable of how would it make sense for movie theaters to reopen when it would be, say, 4th of July weekend of all things. When we hit Labor Day, that's when movie theaters in general, especially over here in New York, should have reopened its doors. And at least they did get to do so during the Halloween season. I will give it that. But, when summing up why I would do so is that, not do I love going out to movies, but also something I will admit I did witness that, my all-time favorite place to see movies, as well as certain other theaters like them, are guilty of doing back when it was still between 2020 compared to, say, most other years. Well, now if you all also know me very well, then you all know how much I love Disney and I love Star Wars, And you all brainlessly had no idea how sad I am to miss out my once-in-a-lifetime chance seeing The Empire Strikes Back on the big screen. And, on top of that, also, another thing I also unfortunately missed, and I will give when it comes, I also missed out one last chance seeing Die Hard on the big, where it's an Alamo Drafthouse 2 years ago. Well, I will give myself, obviously, all this about 2020. Sorry for going off topic, but this is relevant to what made 2021 a good year. Well, at least when it was still 2020, I did get away seeing not one, but 2 classic Pixar movies on the big screen in 2020, being my first time participating in a repertory screen of Monsters Inc. and I luckily had my once in a lifetime chance seeing the original Toy Story on the big screen. Now, what does all this have to do with today's video? Well, that's also another thing about 2021 I also fondly like about 2020. Like to look back about 2021 and be, well, as you can all obviously tell, especially being as somebody who comes all the way from New York, it's where I got to see more movies than I ever did in 2020, and you can all tell why. 2020, as you can all obviously tell, is when COVID is such a big deal, And movie theaters, as you can all see, did not. Movie theaters over here in New York, especially here in Westchester County, as you can see, did not get to have the chance to reopen up until Halloween was on its way in 2020. But yeah, it's another one of my favorite memories about 2021 is, I got to see more movies than I did 2020. What difference did I see in 2021? Well, regarding life as a moviegoer, I will say it was definitely a really good year for me when it comes to the Fathom Events side of me. For Fathom Events, I will say, typically speaking, they would screen movies that, that would cater to my taste, like Shrek, La Bamba, Labyrinth, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, The Great Muppet Caper, and Coraline. Most of which I did get to see when I had free time. Also, now if you know me very well, then you know my favorite place to see movies would have to be none other than the Alamo Drafthouse. So yes, when I can and have free time and I wanted to, I did see some movies there that I did appreciate, like Ride the Last Dragon, Street Gang, The Muppets Take Manhattan, my second time seeing An American Tail on the big screen, as well as I luckily had my once in a lifetime chance seeing Barb and Star on the big screen via movie party screen at my local one in Yonkers. The Polar Express, and for the first time since I believe 2017, if my calculations are correct, sounds right, I finally got to see Elf on the big screen again. And yeah. Also got to sit through the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy. And speaking of which, if you may recall, I've been constantly advocating to participate in more repertory screens of Disney Plus titles. Well, even though it's kind of a shame that Chapek on his end when we hit 2021 just in time for when the Alamo Drafthouse in Brooklyn reopened its doors back during Mother's Day weekend. It's a shame I didn't get to see them as much as I would like to. I mean, granted, I did participate in a Fathom event screening of the Great Muppet Caper and a repertoire screen in my local Alamo Drafthouse for the Muppets Take Manhattan. And on top of all of that, luckily for my local Alamo Drafthouse, they did do another repertory screening of an older Fox title, this time in the form of the Rocky Picture Horror Show. In fact, luckily for movie theaters like them last year, like the Alamo Drafthouse, they did do a repertory screening of Rocky Picture Horror Show, but not Die Hard, which is pretty weird, I will say. And on top of all that, regarding Disney Plus Day weekend season last year, I was able to see some Disney Plus titles on the big screen last year when I wanted to, but the downside is I have to go to an AMC for it. I mean, at least we have some here in the Hudson Valley area in general, to put it lightly. I did get to see Ryan the Last Dragon 3 times on Disney Plus Day, as well as saw Monsters Inc. and Rogue One for Disney Plus Day weekend at the AMC, mostly where it's a Palisades Mall. And yeah. Enough talking about movies. I will also say another thing about 2021 I also fondly look at would be, 2021 also had to be that year where we were given a Mario Party game release on Nintendo Switch that we as Mario fans wish to see happen. This time in the form of Mario Party Superstars, which I will say, if I had a favorite Mario Party game to play, it would have to be Mario Party Superstars, particularly when it's for fun. Why Mario Party Superstars, you may ask? Not only can I play in handheld mode, unlike the last Mario Party game we got, but also, out of all of the two Mario Party games that came to Switch thus far, as I'm currently recording this, Mario Party Superstars would obviously be the closest to a Mario Party Ultimate of some sort, to put it lightly. Yeah. And another thing about 2021, also finally look at that, is that 2021 also had to be that year where we as Switch owners were treated with a Switch port of the original LEGO Marvel game, which I will say, out of all the LEGO Marvel games we got, the original one would have to be my personal favorite. Why? Well, considering how inclusive the character roster is, Surely, regarding the character rosters presented in the original Marvel game, you not only have characters presented in Marvel movies from the first two that are considered part of at least either one of the first two phases of the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, but also you have characters from the Spider-Man universe show up, and of course the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Deadpool. Well, especially the X-Men and Fantastic Four, And another thing also finally look back in 2021 is that for the first time since 2018 has passed, I was able to have a really good birthday. In fact, 2021, I will say, I had a better birthday in 2021 than I did 2020. I like how so. Not only am I happy to see Zuzu Guardian leave me alone, let me celebrate my own birthday in peace when it was my birthday last year, but also other interesting things happened during that same exact time when it happened. It'll like, if I can be honest, what I did during my own personal life for my birthday last year, if I had any free time, well, whether you guys all believe it or not, I did take a bus all the way up to Nanuet to enjoy my once-in-a-lifetime chance going out to this place called BJ's, as in BJ's Brew House. Why would I want to go there for a birthday trip, you may ask? Well, let's just say I'd be lying if I did not tell you all how much I always love to eat things with chocolate, Sure, it's not the healthiest, but, I always love the taste of chocolate, One of my favorite foods to eat right up there is pizza, sandwiches, and Asian food. And there's also another thing about 2021 I'm also happy to see happen is see my... Now, something I'm always not afraid to admit about myself as I continue to mature for myself as much as I can. How I even admitted this to Animad during the last time he received anything from me, for that matter, for What's in the Box would be well. Now, if you may recall, if you're as big of an anime fanboy as I am, then in the last episode of What's in the Box, where Anime gets received anything from me, for that matter, most only letters, typically speaking, that I did admit to him that I've matured in life. Like I did admit to him of how that I'm now living in a group home. And everything I told Animat in the last letter I wrote him that he received from him, then the last letter he received from me for What's in the Box, I really was being truthful about myself, Really, if anything, I'm just frustrated, It's people like Caleb fellow anime fans like them, who both pass and present day, who just love, who are, when you hear me call people out like Caleb Korger, Alexander Marbella, Mia Ray, Colin John, and Liquid as prime examples as Zuzu Guardian enablers, as well as Mike McSaver and Morgan Ledger, more along the like to them being going all Chris Chan. But yeah, Thank God before What's in the Box ended, that I knew how to speak up to Animat of how mature I've been, Still kind of am, I will say. Though, if I can be honest with what the franchise does all this have to do with anything, well, let's just say when it comes for where I was when Thanksgiving has passed and Christmas was on its way last year, not too long ago, I did move into a new group home. Like what happened with the group home where I was back during my final year of high school, you may ask? Well, let's just say, say you're a paratransit driver watching this, right? You're a paratransit driver who's been driving me since, back, say, before 2021 kicked in. Now, as you can see, I don't live in Pleasantville anymore, and now I live in Tarrytown, particularly during the week. Now, the reason why that is also is because, well, if I can be honest, for where I am right now in terms of independent living life, I'm happy where I am right now more so than I am my old group home. Where the fridge did things go horribly wrong. Well, not only did I get a lack of paratransit service on weekends, but also where in Pleasantville I was living in at the time. To keep this long story short, it was not safe to walk to the local community. Not even places to eat, not even places to treat myself some diet soda from a drink at the bar, nor a local gym, nor a local track, nor even the local train station either. And on top of all that, also, I'm not going to act like everybody there is like this, but unfortunately, some of the staff who I worked with there, well, don't get me wrong, there have been some people I did like there. However, there have been staff like them who unfortunately treat me like dirt when they want to be. And there'd also be this one girl who I lived with in the past during my final months living in Pleasantville, where, she had behavior problems, politely, and yeah. And for where I'm living in right now during the week when I'm not with mom and dad, it's where things would get even. It's where you can all tell if you're smart enough to pay attention. Not gonna lie, I'm now in a better place. Like how so, you may ask? Well, for where I'm living during the week right now, you see, typically speaking, not only do I get way more paratransit service compared to where my old group home was, but also the staff there, they do the best they can to take as great care of me as much as they can. Make sure, that I'm responsible for myself, especially when it's health related. And also, on top of all that, I can walk to a diversity of different places, like a local track, places to treat myself a slice of pizza or two, or a place to get coffee, a local 7-Eleven, and local library, local post office, and a local train station, as well as walkable, and I can take regular buses to certain places when I want to. Even much more so to places like the Palisades Mall if I wanted to. For me to hang out there and play games I like to play. And, yeah. And another thing I also fondly look back about 2021, oh yes, right. It was also when I graduated my local culinary school. And another good thing, any other good things happened? Well, I guess that's all. And also, there's one more thing I'm also I fondly like about 2021 died. Now, another thing I also enjoy about 2021 would include, well, there's regarding some of my other favorite web shows to watch outside of the educational works of anime, as those favorite YouTubers that aren't Mr. Code and Friends contributors, I will say, there's this web show in particular that I just always loved to watch ever since back when I was in high school called Death Battle. In fact, I love watching Death Battle that it makes me want to make a video game out of it when I can. Anyways, what 2021 has to offer regarding the lineup of Death Battle episodes of that year. this is the part where, well, whoa. This is the part where, well, they get to welcome in characters like them, who I will say, for a while, I've always been dreaming to see Epic Death Battle. In fact, 2021 had to be that year, well, you can tell if it weren't for Death Battle going on when that year kicks in, you can tell the people at Screw Attack, now owned by Rooster Teeth, would be in a lot of animals. In fact, say you watch as much Death Battle as I do, you can tell next thing you know that. Say if you're a fan of Death Battle, you can tell that guilty enough on the creators of the show, as well as Rooster Teeth, when it would still be 2021. Oh boy, do they break a lot of fan rules, which I will say I'm happy to see broken, you know? Like, you can tell for who did get to appear in Death Battle is where they get to be more inclusive, you know? Which I will admit something that I've always been advocating to see happen. Like, 2021 had to be that year that brought us where not only would Mickey Mouse finally shine his chance to be in Death Battle, but also so would Yoda. I'm not only happy, some characters who showed up in Death Battle last year, you can tell it's that year that made me feel like the idea of making Death Battle to a video game can come across as worth the wait. Like how they're free. So, well, 2021, that'll bring us characters who I've been dreaming to see Death Battle, which might be, it happened like with Mickey Mouse, Yoda, Heihachi, and Popeye and Star Butterfly. And yeah, you can obviously tell that for the Soul Calibur guest character representation, to quote Darth Vader, the circle is now complete. Especially regarding the entire Soul Calibur 2 guest character roster. Who we already, as of last year, we get to see Heihachi have his once in a lifetime chance to be Death Battle as much as what both Spawn and Link ever did. And when you all hear me say of how happy I am to see Star Butterfly finally make her way to be in Death Battle, I'm sure some people like them are going to be shocked to hear. Some long-time followers might are probably going to be shocked to hear. Be thinking like, wait, what? Don't you hate that show? Well, I'm going to be honest here. For where I was during the year of my high school life when it comes to that show, when it first aired, I was like this out of frustration over not only is Richard Guardian, who, as you can all see, can never be accepting the fact that I'm still straight, but also people like Ethan Brown and Mr. Harden, who, let's just say, can never be accepting the fact that Epic Battles is considered to be a family film, more so than it is a children's film. Yeah. And if there's anything I can be appreciative of the character Star Butterfly, you know, I guess what makes me appreciative of having her in Death Battles that, you know, not only have I came to learn the hard way that, you know, that characters in My Little Pony will never get let go out of Epic Battles anytime soon. Every time a new Epic Battles movie gets to be made in recent memory, becomes Epic Battles 4, despite first being Epic Battles 2. But also, at the same time, you know, say what you all will about Star vs. Force of Evil, but Star Butterfly, whether we all like it or not, would have been the first Disney girl to be given her own Death Battle episode, you know? Of course, it's great to see a Disney female rep to appear in an episode of Death Battle, as much as we all got to see, you know, some Disney male heroes like Mickey Mouse, Scrooge McDuck, and Goliath from Gargoyles. As well as various characters on the Marvel Universe, as well as Sora, as well as Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as Yoda, as well as Darth Vader, as well as Luke Skywalker and Boba Fett, if I had to be more inclusive. You know, if I kind of Marvel, if I had to be more inclusive, and yeah. As for any least favorite memories I had surrounding 2021, you bet I have. Now, if you all may recall earlier in this video, I did mention of how happy I am to see me not go through many troll bobs as I did before, I will say. However, throughout the entire course of 2021, if there's any troll problems I did admittingly face from what I can understand about myself, there was unfortunately one that I had to go through. This time it's based on somebody who I used to go to school with at Andrus. No, people, not Nate Rivera, thankfully, but rather, well, for the first time ever since he and I both have moved on with our lives being in high school from finishing Andrus for our own merits. Someone who I made personally by the name of Onik Bernergy, well, bugged me. Like, what did he do that bugged me? Well, let's just say for the first time in almost a decade ever since, he and I both moved on from being at Andrus with our own high school lives. He got into the spirit of being a man-child about life as a conjugal, starting up this whole, Mercedes production is not real nonsense, He's just saying that just because, he's just judging me by the epic battle side of things. Even though it comes to my understanding that anything that he would continue, he thinks there's things because, he wasn't liking the fact that I don't work with the government when it comes to the filmmaking side of me. So freaking what, Onik? So what, Onik? I have a right to do things like filmmaking, game designing, and all that good old stuff as hobbies, as what Mrs. Somers taught me. I mean, I'm not going to act like everything Mrs. Somers did is all perfect or anything like that, but, you got to give her credit with that. And, there's, something I come to realize in life is that when it comes to doing things like filmmaking, game designing, music arranging, all that good old stuff, there's nothing wrong doing stuff like this as hobbies, It's how I will always forever be doing, how I handle myself with things like filmmaking and game designing anyways. Honestly, if you may recall when I did my last update vlog, I'm currently recording this, well, I did admit that I do have a creative disability, which is summing up of how, well, summing up the reality of how you can all tell that for how to live my life as a content creator, I tend to be more nostalgia-oriented. Which is legit reasons why the fridge, well, for the game designing side of me, I tend to, well, whatchamacallit. Oh, yes, for the game designing side of me, like I was saying in my last update vlog, now for the songwriting side of me, I would be technically be more qualified as an arranger, more so than I can be a composer. As well as legit reasons why for I handle myself getting to game design that I would make are nothing but fan games, And while I will admit I do have a lot of ideas of games based on epic battles I like to make, with the first batch include its own themed Smash game called Super Epic Battles Brothers, its own themed Mario Kart game called Epic Battles Kart, and its own themed Mario Party game called Epic Battles Party. Now, if you were to ask me whether or not I would consider making games when I want to that are not based on epic battles, funny you should ask me that, and yes, I would when I want to. Like, for example, I will say, there are not one but two ideas of non-epic battles games I would have loved to make for myself, both of which are fighting games. Actually, make it three, but yeah. Two games that I would always wanted to make for a while that aren't based on epic battles include a Soul Calibur Ultimate and a game based on Death Battle. Then summing up why I wanted to make a Soul Calibur Ultimate in a nutshell, not only do I have nostalgic memories playing Soul Calibur in general back when I was in middle school, with Soul Calibur 4 being my personal favorite out of all of them, But also at the same time, well, there's something regarding Soul Calibur that I'm disgusted to know. Like where the fridge did things go horribly wrong for Soul Calibur. Recent memory, well, when the 2010s kicked in, it's where Soul Calibur franchise is becoming an Aladdin joke. Well, if you're looking for this one Soul Calibur game that would make Soul Calibur franchise as a whole sound like it being some Aladdin joke, that's what Soul Calibur 2 is for. For Soul Calibur 2 would, well, pretty much be that Soul Calibur game, which would be said to be the first one to feature guest characters. Where Soul Calibur 4, on the other hand, I would compare it to Shrek. Because this is where, what could have inspired fellow fan filmmakers like them who would treat Soul Calibur, who would kiss up mostly to the guest characters more so than they can be regular. Like those who have, like to all you folks who have seen Epic Battles, that's where you know it's of how they always tell me of how that only guest characters like Heihachi, Spawn, Link, Darth Vader, Yoda, all those guys can be in Epic Battles, but not, characters like Siegfried, Nightmare, Taki, Mitsurugi, Astaroth, nor even Sophia can be in Epic Battles, which really does disgust me, I will say. And if you watch Death Battle, I mean, the same exact thing can kind of be said for that as well, for how they treat Soul Calibur Precision, where most of the characters who show up in the show, like with Epic Battles, are indeed guest characters, which, unlike with Epic Battles, where they get to be more inclusive on behalf of the guest character roster alone, for Death Battle, only 6 guest characters show up in Death Battle thus far, as I'm currently recording this, including Heihachi being the most recent one, Spawn, Link, Darth Vader, Yoda, and Kratos. And if there's anything I'm sure we as Soul Calibur fans can all agree that Death Battle did succeed at, in which Epic Battles unfortunately failed to do for whatever reason, well, they did include some regular characters when they wanted to in there, and which in this case did include Ivy and Nightmare. But no Sophitia. Really? I mean, it's kind of a shame seeing, and that's the weird thing about Sophitia in a nutshell, is that, people like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Princess Peach. I think I have to agree with Dad that she's pretty hardcore, and I find her beautiful. If anything, it's rather weird that, as you can all see for yourself, that it can be common for a lot of people, to go after Peach more so than, say, Sophitia. Like, as you can all observe what Sophitia can be in recent memory, that she'd be the kind of character who, beyond fan filmmakers, would make Waluigi sound like make the likes of both Waluigi and Jane sound like they're both being Princess Peach. Like how the fridge. So you may ask, well, with characters like Waluigi and Jane for Return to Neverland, surely they both don't get much attention of some sort, I say. With the case of Waluigi, surely it doesn't get as much attention compared to, say, the other Mario characters ever can, especially in Smash, as you can see. And for Jane for Return to Neverland, she doesn't get as much attention as most other Disney characters who are considered fan favorites can ever be. Of some sort, but at least with Jane and Waluigi, they both have had a number of accomplishments of some sort. Like with Jane, not only is she regarded as a major character in Epic Battles, but also got her own McDonald's Happy Meal toy, appeared in the Game Boy Advance version of the Return to Neverland game adaptation, appeared in Disney's Peter Pan: The Legend of Neverland, and yeah. Whereas for Waluigi, he did get his own amiibo figure. He, like Jane, did appear as a major character in Epic Battles, and also regarding Waluigi, he has shown up in as many fan projects as he could, and you can all tell why the phrase that so. A lot of people want to see Waluigi smashed, and I'm not going to blame them, to be honest. And did get recognition through a Nintendo Monopoly game. And his cost and the clothes that he would wear did appear as another form of costume Mario can wear in Super Mario Odyssey as well. Let's not also forget. But Sofitia, on the other hand, especially when we hit the 2010s wall, the likes of the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, the Nintendo Wii, the PlayStation Portable, like the PSP for sure, the Nintendo DS all became such a big deal on gamers at the time. It is a rather shame to see, Sofitia not get as much recognition, Which makes me feel sad. If I'm going to say, I find Sofitia just as equally beautiful as Princess Peach. And on top of that, like I was saying before, Soul Calibur, I have fond and nostalgic memories playing Soul Calibur when I was in middle school, like I was saying before. And, yeah. But anyways, going back to my thoughts in 2021, yeah. Having Onic being a nut job with me at the time, that's what I really wanted to, isn't all what bugged me about 2021. But also, at the same time, another least favorite memory I had with 2021 would include, well, for the first time ever since 2016 has passed, it's where ever since 2016 kicked in, has passed, I engaged in family loss. This time I lost not one, but two family members, both of which were grandparents, including my Moronto grandfather and my Peronto grandmother. So I guess where I am with my entire family as it is, looks like I'm down to two grandparents. Well, I'm going to be honest. Technically, I have 6 total, like how they were so, kind of a long story. Well, let's just say, my step-grandfather, who died back in 2013, lost his first wife, so he married my Moronto grandmother, thus resulting in my Moronto grandfather to find a new wife himself. Like who's left out of my 6 grandparents, who are still alive as I'm currently recording this, my Moronto grandmother and my step-grandmother. And that is my thoughts on 2021 in a nutshell. Thanks for watching.